Most people don't wake up poor, they wake up tired, already stressed about money before the day even starts. You open your eyes and your mind begins calculating. Rent, groceries, insurance, gas, subscriptions you barely remember signing up for. You work hard, you show up, you stay late, and somehow nothing ever sticks. Every month ends the same way. The account drops back to zero, the pressure resets, and you tell yourself next month will be different. You are not reckless. You are not lazy. You are careful, disciplined, and constantly alert. Yet money still feels like a problem that never relaxes its grip. That confusion is exhausting. Before we go any further, pause for a second and comment one word that describes what's keeping you stuck right now. You see people earning similar incomes, living with less stress, more freedom, more room to breathe, and you quietly wonder what you're doing wrong. Here is the truth most people avoid because it hurts. The problem is not your effort. The problem is the rules you are obeying. Most people don't stay broke because they're lazy. They stay broke because they're obedient to rules that were never designed to free them. The system rewards consistency, loyalty, and compliance, but only up to the point where survival is secured. After that, obedience becomes a ceiling. Think about someone like Jason, mid-30s, reliable, respected, always available. He works harder every year and feels poorer every year because his income depends on permission. Or Emily, responsible, organized, never impulsive. Yet every dollar she earns is already assigned before it arrives. Nothing left to build, only enough to maintain. This is what being held looks like. You are not failing. You are trapped inside a structure that converts effort into exhaustion instead of leverage. And once you realize that, the pressure you feel every month finally makes sense. This is where the real conversation begins. Now. This is where the lens has to change, because money does not move according to effort, fairness, or good intentions. Machiavelli was not a moral philosopher telling people how they should behave. He was an observer of power, watching how influence actually moved in the real world. What he noticed still applies to money today. The world does not respond to what you mean well or how hard you try. It responds to position, signals, leverage, and structure. You can intend to be responsible, loyal, and honest. But intention is invisible. What the system sees is where you stand, what you control, and how replaceable you are. Money follows the same logic. It does not reward goodness. It rewards alignment with how the game functions. This is why two people with equal effort experience different outcomes. One sends signals of dependence and urgency. The other sends signals of control and patience. One works harder. The other is positioned better. The system doesn't care how hard you try. It responds to how you position yourself. From here, what follows are 10 Machiavellian rules that keep people poor, not because they are stupid, but because they were never taught this reality matters. Once you see this lens clearly, the patterns stop feeling random. The frustration, the ceiling, the constant pressure all trace back to the same mistake. Following rules that reward survival instead of control. What comes next are 10 Machiavellian rules that explain exactly how that trap is built and why breaking them changes how money responds to you. They are not popular, they are not comforting, but they reveal the mechanics that keep people stuck and the exits most never notice. Law 1. For most people, money exists only as a countdown. It arrives, gets divided, and disappears. Rent, utilities, groceries, insurance, small comforts to recover from stress, then silence until the next paycheck. That pattern feels responsible, even mature, but it quietly traps you in place. When money is treated purely as survival, It can never become an exit. You may be disciplined and careful, yet nothing moves forward. Only maintenance continues. This is why hard-working people feel anxious, even when they do everything right. Survival thinking locks attention on the present moment, the next bill, the next emergency, the next month. There is no space to design a future because all energy goes into preventing collapse. Consider Mike, early 40s, steady job, decent income. He never misses payments, yet every dollar is assigned before it arrives. Nothing is allowed to work for him. Or take Laura, organized and frugal, proud of avoiding recklessness. She saves a little, but without intention it feels pointless, so it gets spent. In both cases, money functions like life support. Life support keeps you alive, not free. Survival keeps the lights on, but it never builds leverage. Tools do. A tool is money placed with purpose, expected to grow, multiply, or create options later. This shift is uncomfortable because it asks for delayed comfort and tolerated uncertainty. But control begins here. Money spent keeps you alive. Money positioned changes your future. Until money stops being only survival and becomes movement, every raise will feel smaller and every month will end the same. This rule matters because nothing that follows can work without it. Accepting this hurts because survival habits feel safe while quietly draining ambition. They reward caution and punish vision. Once you see that mismatch, effort finally makes sense. You are not bad with money. You are using it for the smallest possible purpose while expecting a large outcome. And that contradiction is the root of long-term frustration. People chase raises and side hustles hoping relief will arrive. But without this shift, income increases only raise the ceiling of expenses, not freedom, turning progress into heavier maintenance, louder pressure, and a faster treadmill that demands more obedience while giving nothing back from the system you trusted for years without question or pause. Law 2. If Law 1 showed you why using money only to survive keeps you stuck, the next ceiling is how you earn it. When income is tied to hours, effort hits a wall. You can work longer, skip weekends, answer emails at night, and still face the same limit. Time is finite. When it runs out, so does your earning power. This is why overtime feels productive but never liberating. You trade exhaustion for slightly higher pay, then reset. Think about Alex, a nurse picking extra shifts, praised for dedication, always tired. His checks grow, his life shrinks. Or Maya, a consultant billing by the hour, fully booked, turning clients away while worrying about next month. Busy does not mean scalable. Hours are a cage disguised as responsibility. Systems are different. Systems store effort so it can be reused without your presence. They earn while you sleep, recover, or think. That contrast explains why two people with similar skills end up worlds apart. One sells minutes, the other builds mechanisms. A system can be a process, a product, a platform, or a playbook that keeps producing after the work is done. It does not require genius, it requires intention and patience. The shock is realizing that hard work alone cannot beat the clock. Time sleeps, systems don't. This is uncomfortable because systems feel slow at first. Early returns are small, feedback is delayed, and doubt gets loud. Survival habits push you back to hours because hours pay fast. But speed is the trap. The moment you stop showing up, income stops too. That dependency creates anxiety you mistake for motivation. Control begins when output separates from presence. You still work, but your work leaves something behind. Each cycle adds capacity instead of draining it. This rule connects directly to the first. Money becomes a tool only when the way you earn it allows storage, reuse, and scale. Without systems, raises only inflate schedules. With systems, modest effort compounds into leverage, until you shift from selling time to building something that persists. Your ceiling remains fixed, your calendar stays crowded, and freedom keeps getting postponed by one more shift, one more client, one more promise that working harder will finally be enough. Without this shift, pressure multiplies and choice quietly disappears again. Law 3. If building systems showed you why time alone traps you, this rule explains why waiting keeps you dependent. Many people don't feel powerless, they feel patient. They wait for a raise, for recognition, for the right moment, for conditions to improve. Waiting feels responsible, but it quietly hands control to someone else. If you've been waiting for permission, recognition, or the right moment, pause here and comment, "I waited too long." Whoever decides when you earn more also decides how calm you're allowed to be. Think about Brian, loyal for 7 years, praised in reviews, always told his time is coming. His income rises when permission is granted, not when value is created. Or Alicia, talented and careful, delaying her next move until she feels ready, until approval appears, until fear quiets down. Readiness never arrives. Permission is the most expensive habit. When income depends on approval, fear becomes permanent. You avoid risk, soften boundaries, over-explain, and stay agreeable because resistance might cost you stability. That is not security. It is vulnerability dressed as patience. Control returns the moment permission is no longer required. This does not mean recklessness. It means reducing how many decisions about your future live in other people's hands. Side projects, independent skills, assets, and alternative channels all weaken the grip of approval. Even small steps matter. When a portion of your income is self-directed, your posture changes. You negotiate differently. You wait less. You tolerate nonsense less. This rule connects directly to the last one. Systems only work if you are willing to act before you feel perfectly safe. Waiting for ideal conditions keeps systems theoretical and hours dominant. Acting early creates feedback, leverage, and options. The system responds to movement, not intentions. Once you stop asking to be chosen and start choosing yourself, pressure drops. The ceiling lifts slightly. Breathing becomes easier, not because life is fair, but because control has shifted back toward you where it always belonged. It is a quiet shift, but powerful, because money listens to autonomy, not hope. And once autonomy appears, leverage follows faster than patience ever did. This is where real momentum begins, without permission, and without apology or delay. From now on, Law 4. Once you stop waiting for permission and start reclaiming control, the next enemy shows up from the inside. Desire. Many people don't lose money because they lack discipline. They lose it because spending has become their pressure valve. Stressful day, you buy something. Long week, you reward yourself. Small wins turn into upgrades, better car, nicer place, more convenience, until your lifestyle quietly expands to match every dollar you earn. That expansion feels earned, even healthy, but it quietly destroys leverage. Think about Tom, mid-40s, income rising steadily. Each raise brought relief for a few months, then a new normal. Better apartment, newer car, more subscriptions, more commitments. Nothing reckless, nothing extreme, yet no freedom. Or Rachel, ambitious, driven, telling herself she deserves comfort after years of grinding. Her spending isn't impulsive, it's justified. And that justification keeps her locked into the same pressure cycle. This is the trap. Pleasure taken immediately feels like control, but it steals options from the future. Every dollar spent to soothe emotion is a dollar that cannot create distance from stress later. Pleasure becomes a leak, not because pleasure is wrong, but because timing matters. Immediate comfort collapses leverage before it ever forms. Comfort feels good. Control feels better. Control means choosing restraint even when no one is watching. It means resisting the urge to upgrade simply because you can. Not out of deprivation, but out of strategy. This rule connects directly to permission and systems. You cannot build anything that lasts if desire dictates your behavior. Systems require patience. Independence requires tolerance for discomfort. Lifestyle inflation feels like progress, but it often just raises the cost of standing still. When spending grows faster than structure, income increases, only deepen dependence. Control begins when spending stops being emotional and starts being intentional. That shift changes everything. Anxiety drops because you are no longer leaking future power for short-term relief. Confidence rises because restraint creates margin. Margin creates options, and options reduce fear. This is why wealthy individuals often look calm rather than indulgent. They are not chasing comfort. They are protecting control. Until desire is mastered, money will always run your decisions. Once it is, money becomes quiet, obedient, and useful. Not as a source of pleasure, but as a tool for leverage, distance, and long-term freedom. Law 5. After learning to restrain desire and protect control, a harsher truth appears. Effort by itself will never save you. Working harder feels virtuous, but virtue does not compound. Labor ends when you do. This is why so many capable people feel stuck despite relentless grind. They push, they sacrifice, they show up early and stay late, yet progress barely moves. Consider Ben, a warehouse supervisor who doubles shifts and skips vacations. His income rises briefly, his exhaustion becomes permanent. Or Lisa, a marketer juggling multiple clients, calendar packed, mind fried, income capped by how much she can personally deliver. Hard work creates output, not escape. The moment you stop, everything stops with you. Leverage is different. Leverage allows effort to be captured, reused, and multiplied beyond your presence. A process that runs without explanation. A product that sells after it's built. A system that produces while you recover. Effort ends. Leverage compounds. This distinction explains why two people with similar skills diverge dramatically. One keeps trading energy for cash. The other converts effort into an asset. Leverage does not require genius or luck. It requires choosing to build something that persists instead of something that exhausts. This is uncomfortable because leverage pays slowly at first. Early returns feel insulting compared to the hourly certainty. Survival habits push you back toward effort because effort pays today. But today is the trap. Tomorrow is where leverage wins. This rule connects directly to the last ones. Control over spending creates margin. Margin buys time. Time allows building. Building creates leverage. Without leverage, discipline becomes a prison sentence. With leverage, discipline becomes an investment. The shock is realizing that exhaustion is not proof of progress. It is often evidence of a missing multiplier. Once you stop worshiping effort and start engineering leverage, pressure eases. Work becomes deliberate. Choices expand. You still work hard, but your work leaves something behind that keeps working for you. That is the only way momentum survives rest, setbacks, and uncertainty. Until leverage enters the picture, effort will always feel heroic and disappointing at the same time, demanding more. Law 6. After leverage enters the picture, another invisible barrier decides who gets access and who stays overlooked. Reputation. Many people are capable, even exceptional. Yet opportunities pass them by because trust does not travel as fast as talent. Skill impresses once. Reliability compounds. Think about Aaron, a brilliant developer who misses deadlines and over-explains every delay. Clients admire his ability, then quietly stop calling. Or Nina, sharp and prepared, but scattered, late, reactive. She wins interviews and loses follow-ups. Money flows toward order because order signals safety. Chaos repels capital no matter how smart you are. This is why image is not vanity, it is strategy. Image is the signal you send before numbers are discussed. Do you finish what you start? Do you show up when promised? Do your actions tell one clear story? Reputation compounds faster than income. Each kept word lowers friction. Each missed commitment raises doubt. Over time, doubt is expensive. Trust is leverage because it opens doors without effort. This rule connects directly to leverage. Systems attract resources only when people believe they will hold together. Investors, partners, and clients do not fund potential. They fund predictability. You do not need to be flashy. You need to be consistent. Calm is a currency. Order is persuasive. When your behavior is steady, people extend time, information, and access without being asked. When it is erratic, they protect themselves quietly. The shift is practical. Tighten timelines. Reduce promises. Finish visibly. Let your work speak before you do. As reliability accumulates, opportunities arrive earlier and stay longer. You negotiate from strength because trust precedes the conversation. Until reputation is treated like money, earned daily and protected fiercely, income will stall no matter how hard you work. Build order and money follows. Neglect it and skill stays unemployed. Consistency turns skepticism into confidence. And confidence invites capital faster than persuasion ever could, without noise or explanation required. Law 7. After reputation creates access, the next risk hides in plain sight: dependence. When one paycheck decides everything, fear becomes permanent. You may look stable, but stability built on a single source is fragile. One email, one budget cut, one bad quarter, and your nervous system lights up. Think of Jordan, late 30s, solid role, benefits, praise. Yet every decision at work feels heavier because rent and healthcare ride on one signature. Or Sophia, a high performer whose confidence drops the moment rumors of layoffs circulate. Dependence feels safe until it disappears. One source creates a choke point. It limits negotiation, suppresses risk, and teaches obedience. Multiple small streams do the opposite. They dilute fear. They restore posture. They don't need to be large to matter. A modest consulting retainer, a digital product, a commission trickle, a dividend drip. Individually small, collectively stabilizing. This rule connects to leverage and reputation. Systems attract options. Reputation opens doors. Diversification keeps them from slamming shut. The shift is psychological before it is financial. When income comes from more than one direction, loss in one area is inconvenience, not collapse. You speak more clearly. You wait less. You stop accepting terms that quietly drain you. This isn't about chaos or overextension. It's about redundancy. Planes fly with backups for a reason. So should your income. One source equals brittle. Many sources equal resilient. Over time, resilience compounds into confidence, and confidence invites better opportunities. Money flows toward people who are not desperate, because desperation distorts judgment. Build streams patiently. Reinforce the ones that show promise. Prune what distracts. As dependence shrinks, fear loosens its grip and choices widen. Until you break reliance on a single paycheck, freedom will always feel conditional, temporary, and revocable. Spread the load, and the system stops owning your emotions. That is how stability becomes control. Quiet redundancy turns panic into patience, and patience into durable leverage over time. Law 8. After reducing dependence and regaining control, a quieter temptation appears, the urge to look successful before you are secure. Modern pressure rewards appearance, not stability. You're expected to signal progress through cars, clothes, homes, and experiences, even when the foundation underneath is fragile. Think about Ethan, early 40s, good income, impressive lifestyle. New car, upgraded house, vacations posted on schedule. From the outside, he looks ahead. Behind the scenes, debt grows silently and flexibility disappears. Or Rachel, ambitious and upward moving, feeling forced to keep up with peers who seem to be winning. Each upgrade feels justified, each payment manageable, until the weight adds up and options shrink. This is the illusion trap. Looking rich is expensive. Being rich is quiet. Display converts capital into noise. It drains leverage to purchase validation that fades quickly. Real wealth behaves differently. It avoids attention. It builds buffers instead of applause. It prefers margin over admiration. This rule connects directly to diversification and control. When money is spent to maintain an image, it cannot protect you, multiply, or create distance from pressure. The cost is not just financial, it's psychological. You become locked into maintaining a story rather than building reality. Silence feels uncomfortable because it offers no external proof. But silence is where strength accumulates. The calm you notice in people with real power is not confidence theater. It is relief from not having to prove anything. Spending with intention changes posture. You stop buying symbols and start buying time, options, and insulation from shocks. This doesn't mean living small forever. It means delaying display until structure is solid. Wealth that announces itself early often collapses under scrutiny. Wealth that grows quietly compounds. When you stop performing success, pressure eases. Decisions slow down. Fear fades. Money stops leaking into appearances and starts flowing into systems. Looking rich satisfies others briefly. Being rich satisfies you continuously. Until you separate image from identity, money will keep chasing validation instead of freedom. The moment you let silence replace display, leverage has space to grow, and growth no longer needs an audience to continue working. Law 9. After choosing silence over display, another mistake still destroys progress. Assuming earning money is the finish line. Many people finally break through, get a bonus, sell a business, land a big year, and feel relief for the first time, only to watch it disappear. Without protection, money leaks through taxes, bad decisions, lifestyle creep, and people who sense opportunity. Think about Victor, who doubled his income in 2 years, celebrated hard, expanded commitments, and ended up with the same stress at a higher level. Or Denise, who received a large payout, trusted everyone, planned nothing, and slowly lost control. Accumulation feels powerful. Preservation is what keeps power alive. Wealth is not accumulation, it's preservation. This rule exists because money attracts attention the moment it appears. Attention creates pressure. Pressure creates mistakes. Protection is not paranoia. It is structure. Legal boundaries, clear accounts, conservative assumptions, and deliberate rules slow down loss before it accelerates. This connects directly to silence and leverage. Quiet money survives longer because it is harder to target. Structured money behaves differently because it is harder to misuse. When protection is missing, gains turn fragile. One error can erase years. When protection is present, mistakes become survivable instead of fatal. The shift here is mental. Stop treating money as proof that you've arrived and start treating it as energy that needs containment. You don't secure wealth by earning more alone. You secure it by limiting exposure, planning for volatility, and refusing to let emotion drive decisions when numbers grow. Preservation buys time. Time buys options. Options protect leverage. Until protection is built, progress will always feel temporary, like something that could vanish overnight. When preservation becomes the priority, anxiety drops, decision-making sharpens, and growth stops feeling like a gamble. Money that is defended lasts longer than money that is chased. Control comes not from how fast you accumulate, but from how well you keep it. Leo Cell 10. After learning how to preserve what you've built, the final shift is the most difficult because it happens internally. For many people, money is never neutral. It is tied to fear, self-worth, comparison, and relief. A low balance creates panic. A high balance creates false confidence. Spending feels like freedom. Saving feels like deprivation. These reactions are not rational, they are conditioned. Think about Kevin, who checks his account multiple times a day, mood rising and falling with the numbers. Or Ashley, who spends impulsively after stressful weeks. Not because she wants the item, but because she wants the feeling to stop. When emotion drives money decisions, clarity disappears. Money must become data. Emotions must become background noise. This rule connects directly to preservation. Structure fails when feelings override rules. Numbers do not lie. Feelings do. When money is treated as information, decisions become cleaner. Spending reveals priorities. Saving reveals discipline. Debt reveals impatience. Investment reveals foresight. Once you read money as signals instead of judgments, patterns emerge early, long before damage is done. This is why people with real control track relentlessly. Not because they love numbers, but because numbers remove drama. Money becomes powerful when it stops being emotional. This doesn't mean ignoring feelings, it means refusing to let them decide. Fear signals risk, not retreat. Excitement signals opportunity, not action. Neutrality creates a pause between impulse and choice. And that pause is where strategy lives. Over time, neutrality changes posture. You stop comparing. You stop chasing relief. You stop proving worth through spending. Decisions slow down. Consistency increases. This final rule ties all the others together. Survival thinking dissolves. Time is used intentionally. Permission loses power. Desire is contained. Leverage compounds. Reputation stabilizes. Income diversifies. Silence protects. Preservation holds. None of it works if emotion runs the system. When money becomes information, control becomes sustainable. And when control is sustainable, wealth stops feeling fragile and starts behaving like a quiet extension of discipline rather than a source of anxiety. That is the point where money finally serves instead of commands. And the game that once controlled you becomes something you can navigate calmly, deliberately, and without fear driving every move. Nothing you've heard here is new. None of these 10 rules are secret, radical, or reserved for a lucky few. The uncomfortable truth is that they've always been visible, just ignored because living by them is demanding. It's easier to work harder than to change position. Easier to stay busy than to build leverage. Easier to wait, spend, explain, and hope than to design structure and hold it under pressure. That is why most people recognize these ideas instantly and still return to the same habits. Knowledge is cheap. Consistency is expensive. These rules don't fail people. People fail the rules when discipline fades and comfort feels safer than clarity. The shift this video points to is not about becoming extreme or obsessed. It's about becoming precise, about knowing when effort helps and when it traps, when patience builds power and when it hands control away, when silence protects progress and when emotion quietly sabotages it. If you apply even a few of these principles steadily, the world around you will respond differently. Not dramatically, not overnight, but unmistakably. Pressure eases, choices widen, fear loses volume, money stops feeling like a threat and starts behaving like a tool. That's the real reward. Not status, not display, not numbers for their own sake. Money was never the reward. Control was. Control over time, control over reaction, control over direction. And control is built slowly, through decisions no one applauds and habits no one sees. Most people won't do this, not because they can't, but because it requires giving up familiar excuses. If you're willing to trade comfort for clarity and motion for structure, this channel exists for you. Subscribe if you want to keep learning how financial power is actually built, quietly, deliberately, and without illusion over time together now.